Hey guys, welcome back to Selenium with Java January 2024 batch online training session 10. Today onward, we'll go through the in-deeper framework design from the scratch. So today I'll cover what is automation framework concept, automation testing process, Java ops concept whenever you want to create or build a automation framework from the scratch, top 10 test automation framework available in the market, data-driven framework in Selenium, and how we can read the data from the Excel sheet with the help of Apache POI. Reading and writing both will cover in the next session, same way. So what is automation testing framework? So initial couple of session you already learned about the Selenium WebDriver standalone functionality, and then or learned like Java basic and advanced Java, and last two session I've covered on the test engine framework part. But in the real time, test engine unit are already kind of built framework. We need to take the help based on the framework type. But we need to take some framework strategy whenever we want to create some automation framework from the scratch. So we'll go into that area. What are the thing we need to remember whenever we'll be creating the framework from the scratch? Why the framework is really important, right? What are the benefit we can get all this stuff? So a framework, what is framework? So first question will come into mind, right? What is framework and why we should like build the framework? Without framework, right? Why should we should not proceed, right, for any kind of project, for any kind of testing, especially for the automation, UI part. So a framework defines a set of rules or best practices which user can follow in a systematic way to achieve the desired result. In a test automation project, user do perform different kind of tasks or variety kind of tasks by using different type of files. To organize and manage all the files and to finish all the tasks in a systematic approach, user need to use a framework. Otherwise, everything will be scattered. You cannot manage. You cannot remember whatever you want to do, right? Where you are keeping something, all this stuff. So a framework will give you the systematic way to portray, to put all your files, folder structure, document, right, all in a systematic way. Automation framework is not a single tool or process. Okay, it is not a single tool, right? Only Selenium, only Java related part. No, it is a combination of multiple tools. But it is a collection of tools and processes working together to support automated testing of any application. It integrates various functions like libraries, test data, and various reusable components. So that are the primary three hearts of the automation framework, right? You need to create reusable component so that you can create design them and you can use them n number of time. You would require the test data sheet, you would require the library, means different jar file, right? You would require. So without a framework, a single test case may have million lines of code and it will test the entire functionality of the application. Now suppose user need to modify any functionality later point of time, so is it possible to read the entire code again and again for a particular functionality? So answer will be definitely no. Because reading so huge test cases or test line of code will be very very tough and boring, and user also need to uh, like spend lot of time to analyze the entire code. That is the reason. In case you are creating some sort of test data sheet you are maintaining separately, or you are creating a library, or right, you are maintaining library, you are creating reusable components, so you know that where the failure is coming, and you can go through into that particular portion, you can debug the code, right, and then you can figure it out, or you can fix the code in this particular area. So you no need to go through line huge number of lines, right, whatever you have developed, or whatever couple of team member, right, or maybe other team member developed, right, whenever you are taking care of that project. So automation framework concept, there are couple of test automation framework available, and most commons are modular driven framework, data driven framework, keyword driven framework, hybrid framework, and BDD, which is nothing but the behavior driven development framework. What are the primary advantage of using any test automation framework? It saves times and maintains schedule. Why? Because automation testing is faster in execution and definitely help to maintain overall project timeline by saving the overall time and to maintain the overall schedule. reusability of the code, because most of the time you'll be creating a reusable component. So one time you'll be developing it and you can update it n number of time in that particular component itself. So right, um, create one time and execute multiple time with less or no maintenance. Easy reporting, because for any of the project, reporting is very important functionality, right? Whether it's API testing, mobile, UI, or even functional, also you need to provide some report. How many test case fast, fail, all this stuff. So you already see right in the last couple of two session in the testing is kind of generating default report, but somehow we don't need to rely on that, right? We can go with the other report, like here we will down the line we will implement the test sorry, that extend report as well, which will give you the beautiful report, and you can share with your like customer, your lead, all this stuff, to provide them the what is the overall pictures of the project at the current situation, right? How many pass, fail, blocked, all this stuff. Easy for compatible testing. In real time, you can develop the script, right? And suppose say you have developed 500 script, but at that point of time 500 test script you can run in different browser, right? In Chrome, Mozilla, Safari, everything. So it enables parallel execution in combination of different browser and operating system in different environment also. Today you can run it in suppose say systematic environment. Tomorrow you can run in end-to-end environment. After tomorrow you can run in UAT environment as well. So same test case can be run in multiple environment, multiple operating system, and multiple browser with minimal changes. Low cost maintenance, as it is automation, initial time, like you need to invest lot of times to develop the code, but once the code is developed, right, you can run them in number of time, and in case some modification is required, you will just only update the reusable component. So down the line it is cheaper compared to manual testing for a long run. Reliability, automation testing is more reliable as less manual intervention is required. So reliability means, because manual whenever it is doing by the human resources, right, there might be some mistake, but whenever you are doing the automation testing, right, there is a chances of very less, right, error, and with minimal manual intervention, right, things can be executed. Okay, minimal manual intervention means test can be run unattended. Means suppose that you already developed your code, once you write integrate with some sort of CI/CD pipeline, right? Maybe Bembo or maybe Jenkins, like continuous integration, continuous development tool, right? As and when some build will be triggered, it can be run immediately. So no manual intervention is required. It can be run on right night, or you can be run at the like weekend also, and before you start your work you can be run, you can publish the report to the respective stakeholder. Repetitive multiple execution for same set of test cases. It is mostly used for regression testing, support execution of repeated test cases. In case you want to do manually, right? So say 20 test cases you need to run. So 20 test cases next run also it will take more or less same time. But through automation, once you develop daily basis, you can run them, right? And with couple of minutes or couple of hour time, you can get the desired result. 20, 30, 100 test cases you can run it. So initial time you need to spend some time, right? Resources, right? I mean, kind of budget for developing the script. But once it is run, you can run them as and when required once your things are ready and up to date. Maximum coverage. It helps to increase overall test coverage. Suppose say you need to test a particular functionality with 10 variety of the data, but whenever you are doing manually, right, you will require 10 number of times, right? 10 multiplied time. But in case you are doing automation testing, same test case you can run it with different variety of the data through data driven approach. You already seen, right, whenever we did using the test engine framework. So same test case can be executed with different variety of the data n number of times. So it will give you the maximum coverage. Automation testing framework concept, where I will cover couple of stuff. So like whatever I have written here, these are the some important key parameter that software tester need to keep in mind while developing any automation framework. Handle script and data separately. So that is the thing you need to remember, right? You should not keep your data and your code together. So automated test scripts should be clearly separated from the input data store. Data can be stored in XML, flat file, database, or the Excel file also. I'll cover here the Excel file primarily, so that no modification are required to the test script whenever data has to be changed for multiple input value. Similarly, in case you need to update only the script, you can update the script, no need to touch your data sheet. Library. A library should contain all reusable component and external connections such as database, generic function, application function, etc. Software testers should be exposed only to the implemented library, and tests should be performed by invoking this library. Library is nothing primarily but the reusable component. So you'll be designing them one time and you can call them n number of times based on your requirement. Any modification you can directly update to the reusable component. So automatically, wherever you are calling those library, right, it will be automatically updated. Coding standard. So, right, as a tester, automation tester or lead or manager, they cannot do whatever way they want to do. Instead of that, they want to follow some protocol standard by their organization, right, by their customer requirement, right, or by their project requirement. So, scripting standards should always be maintained across the test automation framework, which will discourage individual coding practices and help in maintaining code uniformity, which makes it easier for software tester and developer to interpret. Why it is required? Suppose that tomorrow you are only person, you are developing the script. So you cannot do whatever you want to do. Why? Because tomorrow, right, you can move to other project, right, or you can move to other organization, and maybe after 6 months time you are joining the project, and at that time you will never understand your code. So that is the reason everybody, multiple person is working or single person is working, they need to follow some protocol and standard. Extensibility and maintenance. An ideal test automation framework should steadily support all new enhancement to the software application and allow modification of existing feature like reusable component, which will help enhancing application feature with minimal effort. So that is the reason automation framework will come into the picture. Suppose that tomorrow you are having 50 test cases and you are having 20 pages. Tomorrow you need to design 500 test cases and like 50 pages instead of 50 pages, 100 pages. But your same framework can support you to add any kind of additional modification, removal, everything with very, very minimal effort. So initial part, your time will be more, your effort will be more, your investment will be more. But down the line, in case you want to accommodate some changes, addition, deletion, updation, everything that can be done easily. Script or version framework versioning. Versioning of framework or script should be maintained either in local repository or version tool, which would help in easy monitoring of changes to the software code. Why versioning is required? Suppose say today you have developed 100 test cases, right? And you have given the walkthrough to your leadership or customer, okay? And you have created a version called 1.0, and after the meeting the customer or the leadership given some feedback like, and they said that no, I mean, out of 100 test cases like 9 test cases looks not good, you need to change it accordingly, okay? And they have changed it and made a version 1.1. After 1 week of time they said that no, 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 initial whatever you have designed, that was perfect only, so you need to revert back your code. So again you need to rework, right, in case you do not maintain the code. Instead of that, in case you are maintaining the code, you can directly switch back to the version 1.0. So that, right, version controlling should be required, and you can get to know what are the changes has been made, who done this, all this stuff. So down the line it will avoid creating so much noises, right? That is the reason we should always create the versioning of the script or maintain the versioning of script and framework. What type of automation testing, right, can be supported whenever you are trying to create a test automation framework from the scratch? Okay, it support mock testing, it support unit testing, integration testing, functional, keyword testing, and regression, data driven, and the black box testing. This is the primary testing supported by any of the automation testing framework. So what type of test cases you want to pick up to automate? Whenever you want to create a framework, couple of steps you need to remember. You cannot automate whatever you want to do, right? Instead of that, you need to do some lot of POC and other stuff, right? What are the your scope, out of scope, what are the test cases should take more and more complexity time. So couple of test cases you can avoid. You should require the test case from the functional team. All these things you need to compare, kind of combine. So what test cases do you want to pick up first to automate? So whatever test case will be executed multiple times, like regression suit, sanity suit, functional suit, you can at least execute multiple times. So your return of investment will be more and more. So users should focus on the test cases which should be executed in repetitive manner. such as regression test case, mock and sanity test case. You should focus first to automate along with the test data creation part. What type of test cases users should not pick up to automate? So before picking up the test case to automate, users should check whether the application is stable or not. In case your application is not stable, right, you cannot start much automation, because whatever you'll be doing at later point of time, in case some changes is happening, right, and then you need to rework your script. So that is the way, like, your rework effort will be more and more. Okay, so based on this, they don't pick up test cases when the application under test changes frequently, and test cases which will run rarely, and couple of test cases which is having more complexity to automate, right? Might be one test case to automate because of the complexity, right? Take much 5% day. But if you want to execute manually, it might take like 2 or 3 hours. So those are the kind of stuff you need to avoid, like when before you picking up the test cases. Automation testing process, right? First is the tool selection. The second is define the scope of automation, planning, design, and development, then test execution, and then the maintenance. So whenever you want to start any kind of automation, you need to do the POC or the proof of concept, where you will be identifying, right, which are the area you'll be automating, whether say UI, whether say mobile API, right? What is your budget? How many test cases you want to automate? Right? What are the browser operating system you want to automate? So based on that, right, you can identify your tool, what tool you need to do it. So tool selection largely depend on the technology the application under test or AUT is built on. Suppose say UFT does not support Informatica, so UFT cannot or QTP cannot be used for the testing in Informatica application. So, so always you should do some sort of POC. In case you want to do some any kind of web automation, you can go with that primarily Cypress or the Selenium. In case you want to do some Windows-based application, right, you can go with the EFT. In case you want to do with the kind of client server application, you can go with the other tool also. That is the way you need to do the POC. Based on the customer budget, whether it's a free tool or it's a license tool, are customer able to, right, bear the cost of the license, all this stuff you need to remember it. What is the project size? How many team members will be working? What is your total number of test case strength? What are the complexity of the application? All this stuff you need to kind of consider while selecting the tool. Then the define the scope of automation. The scope of automation is the area of user application under test which will be automated. Right? Couple of points you need to remember whenever you are defining the scope of automation. The features that are important for the business. Right? What are the feature critical part? Right? What are the critical part? It is very, very important for the business. You need to consider those. Scenario which have large amount of data. Okay, means whatever way, right, you need to variety do the testing large amount of the data, you need to focus them. Common functionality across application, in case some functionality will be common always, so you need to focus on those area. Technical feasibility you need to do, right, what are the critical area you cannot do all this stuff. The extent to which business component are used can be reduced. The complexity of the test cases, ability to use the same test case for cross browser testing. So these are the couple of area you need to, right, go through, and you need to define the scope of your automation. Then the planning, design, and development. During this phase, user need to create automation strategy and plan, which will contain the following, right? What are the tools you are selecting, like framework design and its features, in scope and out scope item for automation, automation test bed preparation means, yeah. Yeah. No, no, no. I will cover it. Then we'll go through the practical part. Okay. So, because that is also a couple of written here, but I'll be covering couple of stuff which is not written. Okay. So whenever you are starting the automation, right? Okay. So you need to get the test cases from the functional team. After that, you'll be choosing the tools and other stuff. Okay. Then you will be creating the frame pattern, design pattern. After that, you will be like automating the test cases. Whenever automating, your objective is not to automate like step by step. Instead of that, you need to automate, right, at the assertion point, at the libraries, at the verification point. You need to capture the screenshot, you need to generate the report, right, you need to debug your code. That is the way you need to do it. Then your test execution will come But before the test execution, you should try run your couple of time, because as and when you are right going through the or running through the test cases multiple times, okay, it will help you, okay, it will help your script to stabilize it. So some people say that I am running my test case only one time, and second time I found that majority of the test case is failing. Sometimes it happens. But in case you are running the test cases like 10 times, 15 times, so as and when you are running the test cases more and more, your script stabilization will be more and more. And there will be kind of very, very less chances for the false failure. And whenever you are doing the execution, right, there might be couple of false failure. Okay, for why the what is the false failure? Because false failure might come from the area, right? Suppose your internet connectivity gone, your test data sheet was corrupted, your data sheet might be open, right? Other stuff like your kind of internet connectivity speed is very very slow, right? Your kind of your memory is not there, your CPU utilization and more. These are the couple of stuff happen. So that is the reason whenever there's a failure, right? I already covered in the last session, right? You can use the read analyzer part so that you can run them couple of number of times. So sometime like from the failure you can get the past result, and whatever will be fail because of the real time part, you need to identify, analyze them one more time, right? You need to find out is a really defect or not. In case there's defect, you need to log as a defect, and you need to defect will go as part of the defect management life cycle. And maintenance part, last one. So majority of the test kind of automation testing project fails. So what is the reason? Because suppose say whenever requirement is there, like they used to invest 5-10% as automation tester, and they say that like just design 1000 test cases, cover everything as automation. But after that, right, not a single person were available to update the code or to fix it. Why your keep maintenance, regular maintenance required? Because say today you have developed something, after 1 year there might be a lot of changes in terms of functionality, in terms of screen, in terms of flow. But in case you are not maintaining your script, not maintaining your useful component, right, not updating your data sheet, right, there might be a problem that whenever your requirement is there to run the test case, you find that everything is failing, and at that time you found that to fix everything it might take 2 or 3 month time, but you do not have the time. So regular maintenance is really required. Otherwise, there will be no benefit from the automation test script or test of whatever you are developing. Next part I have covered. Why? Because majority of the interview, right, that questions might ask, okay, that what are the Java ops concept and how you will be utilizing them whenever you are developing the framework from the scratch. So there are OOPS is nothing but the object-oriented programming structure. There are primarily four concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and I think encapsulation. Okay. So abstraction, what is abstraction? Abstraction is nothing but the hiding the data or the implementation, right? You don't want to show the internal implementation. Instead of that, you want to show only that respective part, right? Whatever is really required to the user. Okay, so here you already using WebDriver equal new Chrome driver. Okay, you don't know why what are the kind of stuff is already there. You are getting object content from the WebDriver interfaces, and you are calling all the method, right, as and when required. That is the pure implementation of the abstraction. Encapsulation is nothing but the wrapping of the data under a single unit. It is a mechanism which binds together code and the data it manipulates. Encapsulation can be achieved by declaring all the variable in the class as private. Just wait for 10 minutes, na? No, there will be no problem, okay, at all. Okay, me you already know, but couple of people might be required. Okay, encapsulation can be achieved by declaring all the variable in the class as private and writing public method in the class to set and get the values of the variable. Inheritance is nothing but the child-parent relationship. So how you'll be implementing in the framework? So whenever you are developing the framework, right, you'll be creating a base class, and you'll be creating the kind of child classes for each and every page, and each and every page class, right, you'll be kind of extending the base class. So that is the way, right, your inheritance mechanism can be established. Polymorphism is nothing but many forms in a different way. There are two things. One is the method overloading. Same method can be repeated in multiple way. And one is method overriding, means suppressing the um, method overriding means in case same method is there in the parent and child class, your parent class method will be suppressed. Okay. So in case I want to give a real-time example of method overloading, right? You already using diver.find element. So by.id, class name, tag name, all this stuff you can use it. And why method overriding is required? I have already covered it though. Okay. So suppose say you are using implicit timeout. What is the importance of implicit timeout? In case you are using like primarily in the base class, in case you are declaring implicit timeout as 30 second, and you are creating some child classes or the page class, and you are extending the page classes as a base classes in every page classes. So what will happen? Every page before loading, before throwing any error, wait for 30 seconds in case you are giving a implicit timer 30 seconds. Okay. So but the problem is that you are having 100 pages. Okay. But instead of 100 pages, 2 or 3 pages might take 2 or 3 minute time. But in case you are going with the generic way, that base class level, those 2 or 3 pages might fail. So what you can do, at the page level, you can create the similar method, and instead of waiting to 30 seconds, you can wait for 2 or 3 minute time to avoid the failing of the test cases right before, because it might take 2 or 3 minute time to load it. That is the way your same method can be overridden, and your parent class right will take can be suppressed, and your child class can take the precedence. So there are couple of top 10 automation framework, though there are might be, but I have tried to highlight it. Robot framework, WebDriver, IO, Citrus. You can go through. There is nothing to read it out. Already written here. Cypress, Selenium, Cucumber, Gauge, Serenity, Carina, and Erlge. These are the best top 10 framework. Apart from that, right, you can use so many tools like nowadays available called Playwright, right? That tool also available. So you can use it based on your requirement. In case you are doing for UI testing, you can use the UI related tool, right? In case you are using API testing, you can use the API testing tool and framework. In case you are going for the mobile testing, you can go use for the mobile testing framework as well. So framework is Selenium. Selenium framework is nothing but similar way. It is a select a kind of code structure that is used to make code maintenance simpler and readability better. Without framework, right, it is very difficult, right, to design n number of test cases, because you cannot maintain the code uniformity without a framework. Your data sheet, your code will be separate always. So that is the reason, right, framework is always required. Then I will go to the framework one by one. So whatever framework I have tried to mention here, like starting with the modular driven framework, data driven framework, keyword, hybrid, and the BDD. So initial time modular driven framework was there, just like the module wise you will try to create a module, and then you will try to develop the create a number of script. So what is the pros or the advantage? So modular driven framework ensures the division of script, which lead to easier maintenance and scalability. User can write independent test script. Okay, but the problem is that modular driven framework requires additional time in analyzing the test case and identifying the usable flow. Okay, so that is the main problem. That is the reason nowadays people say that their concept is there called modular driven, but until it is only very limited test case, 5 or 10 or 20 test case, there is no point of using the modular driven framework. You can either go with the keyword driven, right, data driven, hybrid, or in the BDD. The data driven framework. In case you are just trying to understand the diagram here, okay. So you already seen in the last session, right? Whenever we are doing the data-driven testing using TestNG, we are keeping our test case separate, or test script separate, and we are keeping our test data separate, but in the same sort of class. But here our approach will change. Instead of same class, whatever data we want to maintain, right? We will be maintaining it in a separate sheet. It can be CSV file, it can be Excel, it can be database also, but here primarily I'll be covered using the Excel only. Okay, so majority of the project they using Excel sheet to maintaining the data, to drive the testing, everything. So in the diagram you could see your script will be there, your external source will be there for the data, and after that your application will be there. So your automation script will interact with the both the way. It will read the data and then it will trying to interact with the test cases, and as a return, right, you can write the data as well to update the output or the result. So in the data driven framework, use test data and code are stored separately, and then automation test script is connected with the data test data stored in the external file. So what is data driven approach? Primarily objective of data driven approach is, in case you are having like one test cases but you need to run with 20 times 30 times with different variety of the combination of data, so that you can use some external source to store all the data for all the important field, and then you can read the data from the external sources and your test case can be executed. So data-driven framework in Selenium is a technique of separating the data sheet from the actual test cases. Since the test case is separated from the data sheet, user can easily modify the test case of a particular functionality without making changes to the code. Data-driven framework you can store in XLS or .xls or CSV file or database. So you already know, right? Before 2007, there was a concept of .xls, but after 2007, the concept called change called .xlsx file. Okay. In case you want to require both the way, you can do it. But nowadays, I think majority of the system, right? It will be .xlsx. Okay. So you cannot work with the Excel file in the normal way using Selenium jar file. So what additional thing is required? You required Apache POI file to be installed first. And then all the Apache POI jar file you need to associate to your project wherever you want to develop data-driven framework. So this is the path. You could see https poi.apache.org/download.com. So you can go to that path. Okay, if you just, I have already pasted the path here, and you could able to see the latest stable release in Apache PY. You can click it here, and there is a zip file. You can click on that and you can download it. Once you are downloaded, you need to extract it. After that, it will look like something called Apache PY. Yes, py.bin 5.2.3, right? If you open it, you could able to see lot of jar files. Okay, these are the jar file, and apart from that, there are three folders available. So in the three folder, also couple of jar files will be there. Okay, so first thing is that whatever project you are working or whatever new project you will be creating, apart from Selenium jar file, you need to associate the other all jar file in that particular project. So what you need to do, you need to go through the project, right? You need to right click here, you need to go to that properties, you need to go to the Java build path, you need to click on the add external jars, right? You need to select the project, select the particular Apache PY file, you need to select all jar file outside project, you need to select it, you need to go to one by one folder, you need to select all and you need to add it. So that is the way, three folder and outside folder, all the jar file you need to add it. In case you are not adding one jar file, it might create problem. So whatever jar file is outside, apart from this three folder, you need to add it and you need to click on apply and close. Okay, I already added it just now and apply and close. So automatically those files will be available in the reference library. You could able to see if you expand it, right? All the Apache PI related jar file already added to your project. Once it is added to your project, right, it can be right, you can create any kind of package, you can create any kind of test cases. Okay, that will not be a problem. Okay, so this is your first step. You can go with an existing project, Java project, or you can create a new Java project. You can create a package, you can create a class, but before that you need to associate all the jar file along with Selenium jar file to your project. All the jar file for the Apache POI outside folder, and apart from all the jar file from these three folder. Why this data driven framework is important? So you already know, you already learned in the test engine session. So your code and data will be not be in same file. It should be separated. Okay. So that is the main point. And you can execute a single test case n number of time with different variety of the data, right? It allows reusing the common functions. It result in creating extensive code. So that are the primary important feedback for the or the advantages for the data driven framework. But what are the major disadvantages data driven framework and along with the common framework? So first thing is that in case you do not have any knowledge on Selenium or relevant programming language or like the framework or maybe the tools, right, you cannot work. So that is the reason a person who does not have any knowledge, right, they cannot work. So every person need to learn the thing thoroughly. After that they only can contribute and they only can start developing the framework from the scratch. Okay, so this calls for great expertise of scripting language required by the automation tool. Okay, sometime, right, you need to take extra care because sometime your data sheet will not be kind of CSV Excel. Sometimes you need to read the data from the notepad also. So Selenium, you need to maybe you need to add some sort of other dependency as well. So I'll cover it in the upcoming session how also you can go with the notepad, right, how you can create a properties file, how you can read the details. You already learned the concept from the Java, right? There is a called concept called hash map. So similar way, we will try to read the data whenever there is an kind of properties file available where there will be key and pair value combination. Okay. So that are the couple of theoretical part. Now we'll go to the real framework development part. Or you want to read the data from the Excel sheet. So in the last session, you already seen, right, that code. Okay, this is the code we have written for reading the data or for executing single test cases n number of times different variety of data. So I have just copy pasted this code and I've created a new class called session 10. Okay, so this is my code. Okay, I want to open that Facebook page and every time I want to write enter the email and password field. Okay, so I've set up the properties for the Chrome driver. I'm creating a new driver for the driver. I'm maximizing it. I'm deleting the cookies. I'm giving times if the implicit timeout called 10 second. I'm launching the Facebook page and I'm trying to identify the email password field. I'm sending the data and quitting it. But how from where I'm getting the data? So for that I have created a called concept called data provider. Okay, and I've created the method and now I'm kind of storing the data as a object, right? Data 00 means row is number of iteration and column is number of field, right, or number of entity I want to interact. So for the Facebook page, right, we are entering the data in the Facebook email and password field. So that is the reason there is a column is 2 and your row will be how many number of iteration you want to do. So here we have given 5 means for 5 different variety of the data I want to perform the testing, right? But in case you want to go for 6, you need to change it 6 here and you need to add couple of lines, you need to change everywhere. So that might be time consuming and tedious process, so people do not want that way. But your Excel will save you that time and will give you the flexibility, right, with minimal effort. Okay, so if you run that code, what it will happen, it will try to like execute the same test case with 5 different variety of the data. Okay, so you could see the 5 test cases got passed, right? If you go here, okay, and you could see here, right, this particular thing is got executed. Username 1, password 1, username 2, password 2, username 3, password 3, password 4, password 5, like that. Okay, so anyone is having any questions? Okay, now problem will be happen. Suppose say instead of 5 times, right, I want to run for 6 times. Okay, with 6 different variation of the data. So here I need to change it to 6. Okay, and apart from that I need to give one more iteration data. So that way I need to copy it. Copy paste is still fine, right? I need to change the data sheet. Definitely that there is no other way. But here I also need to change it accordingly, right? So that might be tedious process and complicated process. Okay, but that complication I don't want to do. Then what is my simplest solution? So that solution we will try to establish with the help of data driven approach, Apache POI, and with the help of reading the data from the Excel sheet. So it will run for 6 iteration now. Yeah. Yeah, we'll create it. We'll create it. We'll create it. In the last BDD session, I will show you. Yeah, that is the way, right? I am letting you know only, right? Designing the framework only. Okay. Slowly you can in tomorrow's next session also it will be more and more advanced. Okay. So whenever you are, we'll drive everything from the keyword, right? We'll be creating a keyword and we'll be giving the code, right? How to, whether it's a ID, password, how ID, XPath, this is how it will read it. Okay, because your framework will be stable, this kind of design one. It does not matter whatever you are writing it, but your framework will be reading the data. Just hold for 2 more sessions, then you can get the details. Okay, but okay, so everything will be covered in last 2 sessions also. No worry. Maven project as well. I already told, right, to go through my Maven playlist so that you can get to know the idea. But Maven will be covered, no worry. Okay. So that is the six data combination, right? Okay. So until you are knowing, right, how to read the data, then you cannot go to the framework directly. Okay. So that is the way. Today I will try to cover it. How, what is the way you need to, right, interact with the Excel sheet. And next session you can get to know from the Excel sheet everything will be driven. Everything will be driven. Okay, so all the keyword will be kind of defining in the Excel sheet only, and from Excel sheet, suppose I want to click on the operation, so I'll be mentioning in the Excel sheet, and automatically it will click, automatically it will verify, automatically it will navigate to some URL, automatically it will enter some value using send key. So that everything will be depend from the Excel only. So all the details in the real-time framework, because we will be not be writing all this kind of code, right? Instead of that, in the Excel, we will try to portray my keyword, accent, data sheet, everything, element ID, all this stuff. Okay, then that is the concept called keyword driven testing or keyword driven framework or hybrid framework. So hybrid is nothing but is a combination of data driven and the keyword. So data driven is means I'm reading the data and I'm doing the interaction. But keyword means I'm trying to do the action based on the keyword and everything I am defining in the Excel sheet. All the actions, whatever I want to do, verification, everything, and based on the actions, right? And suppose say today I am having 5 test cases in my Excel. Tomorrow I can have 100 test cases in the Excel only. And from Excel, your execution will happen, not from any other stuff. So that is the way your Excel will certify, right, how many execution you want to do, right? What are the thing you need to do all this stuff. Okay. Now I want to automate, right, the same process using the Excel sheet. So first what I'll do, I'll create a simple Excel sheet. Today's part is much simpler, but tomorrow, next class, it will be very, very complicated. There might be multiple tabs, there might be multiple row, 10 row might be also there. That not be a problem. Because based on a requirement, you need to have n number of row, n number of column, n number of sheet in a, n number of tab in a single sheet. Okay. So here I have created Excel sheet and I have given two column. So one column I want to read the username, one column I want to read the password. Forget about code and everything. Forget about everything. So in case you want to read the data, then how will read it? Okay, forget about everything. All no need to worry about your automation, Selenium, Java, all this stuff. So first thing is that you need to go to the Excel, right? This is my Excel. So I will be going to my path. Okay. So what is my path? If you right click here, you can go to the properties. So you can go to the path here. This is my path. Excel is kept. What is my name of Excel? This is my name of my Excel. What is the extension of my Excel? .xls. So that is the way I will go to the Excel completely. Once I need to the Excel, then I need to go to the sheet. Which tab I am referring? There might be 10 tabs. Okay, so I'll cover by the tab indexing how you can understand. But in case you are having 100 tabs, you cannot go with the indexing. Instead of that, you need to go through the tab name, and your tab name should be always unique because you cannot duplicate two tabs in a single Excel sheet. So your tab name should be always unique. So in case you are having huge number of tab, then instead of indexing, right, you should go with the tab name so that it will be understandable. Then I need to understand for how many row data is available, because I cannot read n number of row. There might be 30,000 rows cell in Excel sheet. But instead of that, I'll be reading the rows wherever data is present. So how can I understand how many rows data is available? Once I confirm that maybe 10 row data is only available and I want to read the data, then I will go row by row reading and row by row reading. But for that also I need to go the column by column also. So row by column I need to read it. That means it will make a cell, and that cell value I need to read it, or sometime I need to write some value in the cell also. Okay, so that is the way my interaction will be reading the data as well as writing the data in the Excel sheet directly as well. So that is the concept. So for that one, you cannot do in the single way. Instead of that, you need to drive the testing. In case you want to interact with the Excel sheet, it should be with the help of the Apache POI jar file. Okay, which will help you to interact with the Excel. So that is the way we want to operate from with the Excel sheet. So for that, I need to write the code. Okay, couple of line of code. Okay, so whatever we have covered so far, like called kind of a constructor method, we will try to implement now slowly. Okay, now let's try to create a class here, simple, to drive the Excel. So I can create a class called read Excel sheet data. Okay, no need to select public static void main method. Okay, so here I'll be creating some global variable. Okay, what is the global variable? So for that one I need to go to the Excel sheet and Excel workbook. So this is the way to thing I need to create it. So for 2007 there is a class available called XSS app. It is starting with always XSS app and it will be workbook. That is the class. So I'll be defining something called global variable called workbook. And then similar way XSS sheet I can create something called global, so that I can use anywhere sheet. That is the variable name I am giving. Now error message is coming. So what you need to do, you need to import it from the relevant jar file. From where it is coming now? It is coming from the Apache POI. You could see org.apache.py it is coming. Import XSF app, it is a class. Similar way, XSF sheet also it is a class which will be coming from the Apache POI. Similarly, XSF cell might be there, XSF row might be there, XSF column might be there. All the classes will be coming from the Apache POI jar file. Then now what I'll do, I will try to create a constructor. While be creating constructor, I'll let you know. What is the difference between a class and constructor? Okay. So class is, sorry, constructor and method. Method you can create it, but whenever you want to call the method, right, you need to always create the object or instance first, and after that you need to call the method separately. But what is the benefit of constructor, right? Constructor should not have a return type. And as and when you are creating the object or instance of the class, directly your constructor will be invoked. So that is the beauty of the constructor. So I'll try to create a constructor here. Public access modifier, then that name, same name as the Excel sheet. Okay. Here I can give something called global variable. Sorry, argument. String say file path, right? Or the Excel path, whatever way I want to define. Then I'll be creating a class object for the file class file, that you already know, right? This is the way I want to read and write the data from the Excel sheet, right? Whatever I have covered in the Java input output, but the same thing I will try to invoke it here. I'm not writing anything new. Equal to new file. Just in case you are having a doubt, just go through that session, Java input output session, which is session 6. So same code I will try to read it. I want. Okay, I need to import the file class from the java.io package. Then I need to go with the file input stream to read the data. FIS equal to new file input stream. So I need to import that file input stream. there is some error is coming, so I'll just include it. That won't be a problem. Once I go to the file input stream, so what is the way we want to create it, right? For that object, for the workbook, right? First, I need to go to the workbook. This is my workbook. I'll go to that one first. Then I'll go to the sheet. Then I'll go to the row, column, and the cell. That is the way I want to interact. Okay. So workbook. Sorry. Actually, generally that is the way we need to create it. Workbook equal to new workbook. But workbook I already defined global variable, right? So there is no point of defining this here. Directly I can call the variable because that global part I have already defined. Okay. So that is the way I'm coming to the workbook. Now I need to import some surround with some try catch block. Okay, file input stream is I need to go to the file here, and I also need to surround with that FIS. So that is the way my code will be perfect. Now I need to surround with some sort of try catch block, and here also I need to surround with some try catch block because whenever you are doing some operation, right, you always surround with some try catch block. File try catch. Okay, it should be another try here. Sorry. Okay, let's cut this one. Let's surround with some try catch block, and here within the try only, right? Second try, and then the FIS stream. Then here you can go with that one. And now I can surround with the another try catch block. Yeah, now error message gone because this will be two try catch block. That is the outer try catch block, and within that you need to add with another try catch block which will be inside. Otherwise, that variable it cannot recall it. Okay, that is your first part. So I am just creating a constructor, simply constructor. Why I am creating constructor? Because I want to, right, call, I want to get to the file location. So what is the way I want to get to the file location? That file path I want to go. How I'll go? I'll go to the path, then the file name, and then the what is the extension of the file, right? Once I go to that, right? So this is my workbook. Then I go to the workbook. That means this is the workbook, which is nothing but your Facebook login credential. That is .xls workbook. Now I need to create a method, another method, right? What I'll do, I'll be creating another method. So in the real time, how I used to create a method, right? Public access modifier, then the method name. So say I am just creating a method name called get data. Okay, here I'll try to pass some argument. What is the error is coming? 1 second. That is fine. Okay, that's fine. I am passing a couple of argument called integer seat number. Which seat I am referring? Integer row and integer column. This is the variable I am passing in. Now I already came to the workbook, right? That workbook I already came here. Now I want to go to the seat. So for which I have defined some global variable, right? SSF seat equal to seat. So what I will do, I'll be creating XSF seat equal to I'll first go to the workbook. That is the reason I have defined as a global variable. Otherwise, I cannot call it. Right? Get seat at. There is a method. Get seat at. And here you can give the index number, seed number, whatever variable you want to pass it. Okay. Now the thing is that I already defined the global, so I no need to define it again. So I am coming to the seed. Once I came to the seed, right, with the say seed, I can get the data. How I will get it? I'll call the seed variable. Then I will get row. I will go to the row. So I will go to the row, get row. Yes. So I'll give the variable called row number, rows. Then once I go to the row, I'll need to go to the column, right? Get row, then get cell, get cell. Here I need to give the column. Then you need to convert it as a string. So you need to get string value, get string. Okay, you could see. So what is get string? It is coming from XSF cell and return type is string. So get string cell value. So I'll need to store in some string which is coming from XSF cell class. As I am not directly creating an object, so no need to create an object. But with the help of that, I am calling it. So first thing is that I am going to the path of the file wherever it is kept. Then I am going to the sheet, means my Facebook login sheet. Then I am going to the workbook or tab. What is that? Sheet 1. Once I am going to the tab, I can go to the row, I can go to the cell, and I can get the string value always. It does not matter what value is there, I can convert it and I can save it in some string. So return type will be string, so I'll be showing a string variable, storing in string variable. Say string data equal to. Then I'm returning the data, right? Because I need to return it. I I need to return it, and that value I need to portray in my test cases. So return data variable. Now what is the return type of the method? Data. What is data? Data is nothing but string. And I copy and I'll give the return type here. That is the way you need to create a method always. Now you could see error message gone. So what are the method I have written so far? I am just simply going to the file path and I'm going to the workbook. And here another method, I'm going to the workbook, then I'm going to the sheet and I'm going to the rows, I'm going to the cell value and I'm reading the value from the cell. So that two method gone. I've written, I've covered. So my objective meet. I can get the value from this cell. But still it will work fine properly. No. Why? Because I have came here, but I don't know how many number of rows value is available. Okay. So here I need to understand for how many row data is there. So those row I'll be reading it. I cannot read n number of rows wherever data is blank. So that is the another method I need to write it down. So I need to write it. What are the number of row value is there? So these are the row. I'll be simply reading it. I'll not read n number of rows. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll be creating another method, public. I'll not giving a return type, get row count. Exact row count, how many row the count is there. So those thing I will be reading it. I'll be giving some argument, integer, right? Sheet number. Same variable, I can give another variable name also. Then you can give second bracket. Now what you need to do for reading the data, you need to go to the workbook. Dot get sheet at indexing, you can give it sheet number. Dot get, one second, what is the problem? Public void get sheet at dot get sheet at seed number dot. There is a method available called get last row number. Get last row number. You could see. What is from where it is coming? It is coming from XSF seed. And what it is giving? It is giving the integer value, means for how many row. What is the last row number? Means for how many row data is available. That is the way we can get it. So I need to store in some integer. Integer say row count. Okay. Now So it will give me the count that this particular row is there. But I want to iterate one by one to get the last number. So here I need to create a thing called row count equal to that variable plus 1. It will go one by one and it will give me the final value. Then I'll returning that one. Return that variable. Now what is my return type? Return type is row count. What is row count? Row count is integer. And I will return it integer. That then it is done. So this is the three method you need to write it. Okay. So I have created four data sets here. This is my username. This is my password. Okay. And I want to read these four data and I want to add it in the Facebook field. Facebook username password field. Okay. Then I will go into my test cases. So what are the thing you need to do it? So first thing is that your test data is not required here. The first thing you can simply remove it here because I will be reading the data from the Excel sheet, not from here. And you don't need to touch your code because your code will be still same. You don't need to touch your code. You just simply need to update it on your data driven part. Because now instead of the hard coded value in the data provider part, you want to read the data from the Excel sheet. Okay. So what I will do, I will first create a create a object or instance for the class whatever I have created. What is the class I have created? This is my class. So I'll create an object or instance here first. Say I can give config file equal to new, and here I need to pass it. You could see this is the way I have created a constructor. So I need to pass the file path. What is my file path? I'll go to the Excel sheet, go to the properties, simply copy it within the double quote, give it, then that is the path. Second is name of the file. What is the name of the file? That is the name of the file. And what is the extension? Dot. The extension is XLS, right? XLSX. XLSX. So that is the way you can certify it. First thing. So what this does mean? So as and when you are creating the object or instance, automatically your constructor is getting invoked here because this is the constructor is written. So no need to call that method again. Automatically it is calling that till the file, right? Till the your sheet, I mean workbook. Now you need to go to your first need to count how many row data is available. So I'll be calling the other method with the help of the object whatever I've created. Config method created, sorry, config variable created. So I'll be calling that one config dot, I'll call what method? Get row count method, right? Get row count method where I can give the index called 0. Why? Because only one seat is available and I can go with the indexing seat index. In case you are having three seat, it will be 0, 1 and 2. So I can go with that one. What is the return type? Return type is integer, right? Because the return type of the get row method is integer. Get row count is integer return type. So I need to store in some integer value. So what I will do, I will store in some integer. Integer say rows, exact rows. Okay. That part is done. Now what I'll do, same thing it will be there, okay, data, but this part instead of hard coding it, this iteration part I'll be giving the rows value because I want to drive the iteration from the Excel sheet, how many row I want to iterate, but column will still same fixed because I want to go with the two column. Later point of time I will show you even also the fix without fixing the column name how you can read go it that way. Okay, so I did not change anything. Now, what I will change here, I'll simply use a for loop for integer I equal to 0. It will start with integer I equal to 0. It will go I less than rows because row minus 1, so less than rows I plus plus. what is my value? Data, right? So data, and I can give it here. So this is my first variable because I am iterating for the row, so I can give it as a variable. And column value I know 0 equal to, how can I read it? I'll go to the variable cell dot method name. What method name? Get data. Here what I'll give it, what is my seed index? First one is index 0, right? You can go to the method here, no need to worry. What is first is seed name, second one is row, third one is column. So I always know my index will be 0 because only one thing is there. Second one is my variable name I, third one is column 0. So that is done. For the second one, for the column 1, right, or the password field, again iteration will be I, always dynamic, and this I can change it to 1, and this I will can change it to 1. That's all. And returning the data. Now same thing has been implemented. Dot xlsx only. What is the problem? Get data. Save it. Yes, done. Okay. Error message gone. Okay. Now, if I want to run it here, so you need to close it the Excel generally. But for reading purpose, you know, right? You no need to close the Excel. But whenever you want to write the data, always you need to want close the Excel. Otherwise, writing will fail. They fail. So reading plus, I can open it. Still Excel, I can open it, and now I can simply run the test cases. This is my test cases. Session 10, I can run it. Now you could see it will run for 4 different variations of the data based on the Excel sheet. Okay, 2 variation, 3 variation, 4 variation, 5 variation, 6 variation. Okay, so you could go to the result here. You could see username 1, password 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 4 variation. Now, how easily I can change it? So tomorrow I need to go for 2 iteration only. So I can simply remove it here. That's all. I don't need to change anything. I don't need to touch my code at all. Because in the real time also you no need to touch your code, because you'll be drive your testing from the Excel sheet primarily. So I'm not touching anywhere. I'm just simply touching my Excel sheet to run it for two data. So now you could run it, just simply run it from here. So you should run for 2 data, because I can easily manage my Excel sheet easily. Okay, it will run only for 2 times. That's all. You could see here 2 times. Now next day after tomorrow I need to run for 6 times. So simply I will update my 6 or 7 whatever time I want to do it. Simply here and save the data. That's all. You don't touch anywhere in the code. But previously you already seen, right? In case you need to do, you need to change the row number. You need to create something called data 10, data 01, 11, 2021, 3031, and data sheet, all this stuff. So that was bit complicated, right? Someone doing any mistake, it will be creating the problem, and it will be need to do the debug your code and other stuff. But here I am not doing like that way. Now just save the code, and you are reading the data, so you don't need to close the Excel sheet also. That is still fine. And now if you're running it, it will run for n number of times. So that is the way, right? Without touching your code, without touching your test cases, right? without touching your data provider part. You just simply only update to Excel sheet from which is your data source, and automatically your execution will happen based on your Excel sheet data for the same test cases with the help of the data driven approach. So that is the way you need to create a like data driven framework where you can interact with the Excel sheet. I'll cover it today, like for the reading the data. But next session I'll cover the reading and writing the data. Then I'll cover the keyword driven framework, how to kind of execute everything through keyword form with the Excel sheet, and then hybrid, which is nothing but the combination of keyword and hybrid. Okay. So I'll go through the code once more time. So forget about everything. Okay. So in case you want to read the Excel sheet data, how will go? First thing is that you should go to the path of the Excel. Then you should go to the name of the Excel and what is the extension of the Excel. So that is your Facebook login credential. That is your Excel workbook. Then you need to come to the sheet. In case you are having n number of sheet, either you can read with the help of indexing, or you can run it with the help of Excel name also. I'll cover all the area. Excel name also. Once you are done, you need to understand for how many row data is available. Then you are getting the count, right? That for like 10 row data is available. So I want to read the 10 row only. I don't want to read the blank row. Okay. So that is the way you need to get the count. After that, you need to go to the rows and then the column and the cell. That is called cell value, and that value you need to get it. In case you need to create this new cell, you'll be creating it here. You can create it here. So I will cover it in the next part. Okay, so that is the way I'll be creating methods for interacting with that one. So what is my first method? I am declaring some global variable. Why? So those variable can be accessible by any method. So I'm creating a constructor here. I have created a class, and constructor is nothing but the same name as the class name, but without any return type. What is the benefit of the constructor? So that in case you are creating any constructor, you need to invoke that one separately. As and when you are creating object, for instance, automatically your constructor will be created. So I am using the file class to read the data file. Then I am going to the FIS file input stream. Then I am going to the workbook. That is the way I am going to the workbook. Next one, I can create a method for getting how many rows data is available. I am going to the worksheet and I am going to the last row number. So that is the way I can get the count, and I'm iterating for every row, and that is the way I'm getting the final count for how many row data is available. Once I get it, then I am trying to read the data. So how I'll read it, I'll going to the sheet, then I'll going to the row, and I'm going to the cell value, and that stored value I'm storing in some sort of string, and that string I am returning it. Okay, then I'm going to my test cases here. You got your test case code, you no need to change it at all. But data provider part, wherever you are trying to read the data, you are getting the object of the class itself, so automatically your constructor is getting invoked. Then you are creating a calling that method wherever you want to get the exact number of row for which data is available, and you are getting the integer value of the row number, and you are creating a object here, right? With the row is a variable and column, you already know this fixed part. Then you are creating a for loop. You are iterating one by one, where you are entering the data from the Excel sheet for the first cell and second cell. First cell is nothing but the your username field. Second cell is nothing but your password field, and that value you are returning in your test cases. That's all. Then you are running it. So automatically you no need to change your code any number of time. Instead of anything is required, you can just simply update your code in the Excel sheet and you can run for n number of time. In case you want to reduce, increase, just you need to update the Excel sheet. That's all. Okay. Now if you want to run it again, so it will run based on the setting change or based on the latest data available. Okay. It is giving you the 5 result because I have removed the couple of number of rows, and it is giving you the result. Okay. So I'll just cover it. Okay, then in case you are having any questions, we'll go through it. So in the real time, right, you cannot work standalone wise. So you need to rely on some automation framework. So automation framework is nothing but a combination of tools and technology through which you can structure your process. You can whatever files, folder structure you are maintaining, right? You need to kind of maintain a proper way, right? The usual component, libraries, test data in a systematic approach. So that way your framework will help you. There are modular driven framework, data driven, keyword, hybrid, behavior driven, or BDD. So I'll cover next session keyword and hybrid, and last session keyword driven framework, where I will create a project with the help of the Maven, and instead of adding the jar file, we'll add everything as a dependency, so that, right, you no need to worry about your jar file, and you will be adding your latest version in the dependency management tool automatically. Based on your version, all the jar file will be loaded to your project, and tomorrow in case you want to remove any older version, you need to like install a new version, so you don't worry about. Simply you can go to your maven pom.xml file, which is nothing but the project object model.xml file, and you can change the version number automatically. Old version will be removed from your project and new version will be automatically loaded. So lot of kind of advantage of the framework. It saves times and it will help you to maintain the schedule, right? Reusability of the code, reporting you can get it. It will support the multiple browser, right? Without minimal intervention, maximum coverage, all this stuff. Okay. So your code and data will be separately maintained separately. You need to create the reusable component. You need to maintain the coding standard. Minimal manual intelligence is required. You can maintain the versioning also, so that it will help you to maintain the version, right? In case any, right, you need to go to the back version, you can also go that way. Whenever you want to automate, right, you need to first select that whatever test case you'll be iterating it multiple times, those test cases you need to focus it. And wherever there's a complexity, application is not stable enough, you should not focus those test cases to automate from the initial time. First, you need to select the tool, proper tool. You need to define the scope. You need to do the proper planning, design, and development. You need to execute them. You need to raise a bug based on your execution status, and you need to maintain your script on regular basis. Otherwise, it will be pure failure. Okay. So Java Ops concept I already covered, right? What is the way your Ops concept is there, and how you can really implement the Ops concept in your real-time framework. The top 10 framework like Robot, WebDriver, Citrus, Cypress, Selenium, Cucumber, Gauge, Serenity, Carina, Algae. Okay, and data-driven framework is nothing but like you want to execute the same test cases with the different variety of the data. But for that, you need to take help from the Apache POI, right? Either as a kind of Maven dependency or either as a jar file. So you need to download all the jar files and you need to associate your project from the Apache Maven dot particular folder, poi.apache.org folder, and your data set will be in different, right, external sources. It can be CSV, Excel, or database, and your code will be there. And with the help of the code, you can read the data and you can, right, execute it with the help of the test script. And after that, once your execution is done, you can also write the data back to your Excel sheet as well. That is the data-driven approach. So it will maintain, right, data and code separately. Okay, and it will help you for generate the test data automatically, in case, because in case you want to execute the some test case and you need to generate the data, you can store it the test data also as a count output file, right, output. Okay, and it will help, definitely save help overall standpoint, right, help times and effort also. And especially in case you want to create n number of data, you can definitely rely on that way. You can run the test script on nightly basis, and in the morning you can get 100 data. But constant point, right? You need always, all the framework is having the I mean negative part is that you need to really good in terms of automation. You need to learn the automation tool, framework, programming language, otherwise you cannot work. Initial investment will be more so that you can get the real-time benefit, and sometime you need to go with some sort of dependency management part, right? You need to integrate some other part. So that is the way. Once your framework is ready, and instead of today, right, in case you are dealing with 20 test case, tomorrow with the same framework you can add 100 test case, 1000 test case, 5 minute test case, but your approach will not major change. So thing will change, that you need to add multiple kind of pages, right? You need to add multiple test cases, that's all. But your reporting structure, right, your read Excel sheet part, right, your objective, whatever way, right, you want how many number of time you want to reiterate the failed test cases, in case it is a failure because of the false part, everything, how, what is the way you want to capture the screenshot, right, what are the different environment you want to hit it, Right? What is your strategy? Like only each element located will be there, like id, name, class name, tag name, link text for selection only, but it will not vary. And what is the objective of each and every each and every accents or keyword? Okay, so couple of might be new to need to require based on your new pages, based on your the modification, addition or deletion of the different kind of functionality of the pages. So that is the way, right? Today you have learned like how we can interact with the data sheet primarily, and you can do the test data driven testing. In the next session, we'll cover how to read and write the data, then what is the keyword driven framework, what is the hybrid framework, and the last session will cover what is the BDD framework and how we can write, read, and write, do the framework development from the scratch with the help of the Maven project, how we can generate beautiful report called extend report. So that is the way, right? You can learn slowly how to divide, kind of design the framework from the scratch. Okay. So that's all from today's session, guys. Thank you.